Ciao, Juventini, and welcome to another episode of the Bianconeri Bros podcast. As always, I'm your host, John Borg, along with...
Co-host Dominiculo, and John, I got my Bianconeri Bros mug.
There it is. It's beauty. It's a thing of beauty.
Oh. It's there we
There it
go.
is.
Domgulo.
I know. I should have brought mine. You didn't even tell me, man. Should have told me. Would have both
I'm
had
sorry.
Yeah,
it's hot water. It's hot water.
How you been, man? It feels like we haven't talked in a while here. We've both been a little busy. There's been a bit of Juventus news as well, but it's been a little while here.
Living a dual life here, man. Just personal life. Got the job and got the podcast. It's just busy, man. Yeah. It's busy. Wedding coming up. It's nonstop. But yeah, we've barely even spoken. We're just sending Juve news back and forth to one another.
Well, here we are. I just finished telling you how I was working out before we did this. And so when I work out, I take off my ring because it starts getting sweaty. It slips off. It distracts me from when I'm doing, some of the weights and stuff. And then I'm sitting here watching the recording. I'm like, I didn't put it back on. And here you are, who's not even married yet. You're about to get married and you have yours on. So you're doing the good thing. And here I am, somebody who's been married for so many years, and I'm not even wearing my wedding ring. So.
I'm just getting chased out of the house to put it on,
Yeah. Well, offline, we were talking about how, both our weekends were pretty hectic too, and managing schedules along with work, it's a lot. But there is a lot of Juventus news to get into since we've been off. Canada Day even hit, but kind of before we get into it, I guess on a more serious note, we should probably acknowledge the unfortunate news that footballer Diogo Jota lost his life, 28 years old, in a car crash with his brother, another footballer as well, Andre Gomes. Both lost their life in a car crash, 28 and 25 years old. So just wanted to acknowledge that, again, send well wishes and all the support in the world from us to the family and to anybody who's fans of the club, the player. It's a really unfortunate time. It's nice in these times where you see some of the comments that have come out from all the different clubs, some of the rival clubs coming together and showing unity in these great moments. It shows you that some things are bigger than the game, but always tragic when something like this happens, and you almost never want to see that come in together because it's at the cost of somebody's life.
Yeah, it's so heartbreaking, man, and just to see his family as well, it's kind of puts life into perspective with these kinds of things, and you don't want this to happen to anyone. So our thoughts and our prayers and our love goes out to Diego and his family and his brother.
Yeah. Very sad and tough to transition off of that, but we'll try our best. And going into it, as mentioned, Canada Day. So we had our a celebration here in Canada for Canada Day, and some relevant Canadian news. Around it, we had a big Canadian signing, first Canadian signing with Juventus, but we'll get into that in more of our transfer talk. But on the day, it was a bit of a gloomy one for us Juventus fans. As we knew coming out of the last podcast, we had talked about the group stage, where things had gone. We had gone from really optimistic first two games to a third game where we had totally thrown out a different squad. We come into this round of 16 match with Real Madrid, we reverted back to the starting lineup that we'd used in the first two games, but ultimately fell 1-0 to Real Madrid and crashed out of the FIFA Club World Cup. Wasn't a total failure. There was about $30 million generated from the two wins in the group stage and by making it out of the group stage. But I think after the start they had and the talks of using this tournament as a platform for the season to come, it was definitely a disappointing exit in my mind.
Yeah. I think the more frustrating part for me as well for Juve is they started the game pretty well. They had their chances. Koulibaly had his chance, chipped it over the net. I kind of wish he just took a shot. I think it would have had a better chance.
I don't know how he missed it, man. I don't know.
Yeah, nerves, composure, right? You're you've played the game too, John, and you're thinking of something and you're imagining it going one way and it just doesn't work out. Yeah, and then I think after that, Madrid made their changes at halftime, and
Mhm.
Juve just looked terrible in the second half. And then the
Yeah.
subs, I didn't like the subs that Tudor made,
Hmm.
taking Yildiz off at the 68th, 75th minute around there.
Hmm.
And his comments after the game as well. I'm sure we'll get more into that, but I was afraid that Yildiz will get injured, so can't be afraid. I mean, if you want to go for it, and especially
Yeah.
during the season with Champions League, you can't be afraid to just sub someone off.
Well, it is
The game
this
was
kind
still
of
huge, right?
it is this duality, right? Because during the game, we were both texting back and forth, and we were saying the same things. Really unimpressed with the changes made. Really saw the second half a totally different thing. The score line's even a bit flattering because I think if Di Gregorio doesn't make a bunch of those saves in the second
Right,
half, like it,
right.
it blows out of a 1-0 game by that goal by Gonzalo Garcia, who's actually shown himself to be a pretty good young player there in Real
Yeah,
Madrid and having a bit of a breakout tournament. But to that point, after the game is when the comments came out. So Tudor talking about him getting hurt, but also the comments of the extreme heat, which I believe they were saying was between 30 and 36 degrees Celsius.
yeah,
Very hot day in Miami there at the Hard Rock Stadium. But Tudor also made the comment that 10 players requested to be subbed off. And so, you know, with this idea that they didn't play very well, with us not liking the subs, he was using that as a bit of an excuse. I'm wondering what you think of that as an excuse, and should the weather conditions have been maybe, I don't know what they could have done with it, to be honest. You booked this tournament to mostly be played in Miami and in some of these hotter weathers in the middle of summer here in the
yeah.
US, but I
I think
wonder how you feel about that as an excuse.
you try to have the games later on in the day, right? I
Hmm.
was saying to my friend today with the Madrid and PSG game, such a miss to have that game at 3 o'clock, especially here. A lot of us are still working.
Hmm.
But going back to the point of the players requesting to be subbed off, yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to say much about it because we don't know how they're feeling and then their body. I run in like serious heat sometimes as well, and I'm cramping up at like 5K, right? So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I mean, I guess the opportunity for Tudor to make his comment about wanting to sub some of these guys off because of fear of injury, and I think
Mhm.
maybe they felt like they were a step behind at that point, and maybe thought fresher legs would help them. But we were texting about this as well. Like we don't really like the bench right now.
Mhm.
It feels like this team only has a starting 11, and feels like when he makes these subs, the game is already kind of forfeited at that point, and it's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it, right? We agree on that part, and it was really the Jekyll and Hyde of it, and nothing more exemplary of that than the performance in that third game against Man City compared to the first two games, and even the Real Madrid in the first half.
Yeah,
Because we had the chances, we actually looked like we were playing well, and we looked like we might actually get a result out of that game. And like we
yeah,
said, it all shifted in the second half. For me, the excuse definitely, I can understand it. I'm not going to sit here and, I guess, criticize a lot I guess, the preparation or anything of these footballers. But, especially I'm not at their level at all. But you're getting paid millions of dollars, and there's a team on the other side that clearly probably felt that heat but didn't use it as an excuse and found a way to elevate their performance. And again, we talked about it before the tournament, and they talked about it before the tournament. We're Juventus, we go to win every tournament. We have winners mentality, blah 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 blah. And all we hear after every loss in this tournament has been excuse after excuse.
yeah. It kind of worrisome for the season coming up ahead, right?
Hmm.
Where they kind of, like you said, Jekyll and Hyde. They say one thing, but
Hmm.
really just doing the other at this point. And it sounds like there's no accountability from Tudor's end as of yet. Everything he's just came up with an excuse for really anything, any loss. The Man City, right? The Man City loss. Oh, they have one of the best coaches. They have hundreds of millions of
they can
dollars.
just spend whatever,
like you never heard those kinds of things come up from a serial winner in Allegri, and or even Conte. I mean, Conte had his own issues, but when he lost,
maybe commenting about how other teams can spend. Maybe Conte had some comments there, but
with the $100 euro, that's fair, right?
Yeah.
But
you're right. It is a bit of a loser's mentality to sit there and say and talk after these losses and have the amount of excuses we do. And I think it also, in a way, throws the players under the bus a little bit too. And I know everyone just wants to pile on top of the U.S. with the stadium size, the crowd sizes, and and the tournament, and there was even the other incident where Enzo Maresca was talking at a press conference about how, well, we've played 63 games to this point. The Brazilian teams aren't playing as many, blah, blah, blah. And then a Brazilian reporter basically said, well, actually, no, they've played 70. And kind of stayed quiet there. But so I think everyone's using these excuses for this term. I'm not sure why. I think, I guess, I get it from adding more to their already pretty intense schedules. But you're here and you're not complaining about the money you're taking back from this tournament. So go into it with all the, go into it with that mindset that you said you were going to, if we're going to try to win everything. We're Juventus, we're big club mentality. But big club mentality doesn't sit there and complain like this about the heat, about the other team just being able to spend more than you, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. I mean, it's just kind of just frustrating at the end of the day, especially with the result that we got. I was optimistic, but I also did say 1-0 Madrid after a hard fought game, but it wasn't really that hard fought at the end, was it?
Yeah. And, and to that point, with your prediction in mind, if that's outcome, you were right with that. And not only were you right with that, your prediction of PSG being a juggernaut and being your champion for the Club World Cup is looking really good at this point. Us recording here on July 9th. They just smashed Real Madrid.
They are a computer. I don't remember one of the goals my buddy had showed me from his phone, but they literally just passed the ball into the net. It's just insane. They're going to go for the quadruple this year. They're the best team.
And, again, we've talked about it before. Happy for the person that is Luis Enrique.
Yeah.
He had, again, he oozes class. And again, in some of his post game that I saw today, just classy individual. So definitely, happy that the success is going to somebody like that. But yeah, your prediction's been dead on, and now we have a final of Chelsea against PSG, which
I think Chelsea was gonna.
Yeah, Chelsea's found their way. They've kind of snuck their way through. I don't think their performance have been incredible, but it's been enough. And you always see these tournaments, right? Tournament styles like this, these World Cups where that kind of dark horse in a way. And it's hard to call Chelsea a dark horse when they spend as much as they do.
Right.
But they were a bit of a dark horse given their positioning in England and given their positioning in Europe over the last so many years.
Yeah,
but
they've been struggling,
But again, they found a way and they did what was necessary. And now they're here in a final. And it's a tough uphill climb because, like we said, PSG is just firing on all cylinders, look like a well-oiled machine. I think they're going to win it, but Chelsea's going to have to try to find a way to disrupt that.
Yeah, you think PSG is going to win it as well?
Yeah, I think at this point.
Yeah, I just want to see a good game though. I don't want to see like a 3-0 shellacking in the first 20 minutes again.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? I think finals are just kind of they work out that way, right?
Yeah,
they tend unless you're Inter. That's a fair point.
Very
fair point. But I like it. I like it. But yeah, and I think FIFA also loves that this is the final, Chelsea PSG. I as
Yeah.
much as I think it's gone the way FIFA would have liked it. I think the games have been entertaining. You've seen
Mhm.
dark horses from Brazil and so on come up and have some good outings. I think the weather's helped them compared to some of the other, not to use it
Right.
again as an excuse, but we've seen it in World Cups as well. So, Brazil, South Africa, we've seen where some of the,
Yeah,
um,
just different conditioning at the end of
yeah,
the day,
different
right?
conditions, and those tend to not favor the European teams where playing in Europe does, right? You can talk about home advantage, etc. But
Yeah.
um, I think from that side, you've seen some dark horses, but ultimately you've seen the top teams advance to the final here. You've got two very recognizable global clubs in PSG and Chelsea. I think this has worked out as great as FIFA could have imagined, aside from the talk of the turnout to the games and stuff. But
Yeah.
again, we've discussed it. This tournament isn't going to be based off of the performances. It is going to be on the longevity of if you're continuing it and you make this tournament meaningful by continuing it every 4 years and making it mean something. And again, cleaning up the qualification, whatever else. But
Yeah,
uh,
and also at the end of the day, a better qualification system for it
yeah,
because everyone's confused by it.
yeah. But I think from a performance standpoint and from the two teams they have in the finals, I think FIFA's very pleased with that. And
Yeah.
yeah, and it's been a good tournament to watch. So we're here at the finals, and we'll talk a little bit about that final when it does happen. But so that kind of closes off Juventus's chapter in the FIFA Club World Cup, and that will take us into now the true off season, I guess you could call it, and transfer talk. And we alluded to
A
it earlier.
lot of news. A
A
lot of
lot, a
news.
lot of news, and the first one being, of course, um, the signing of Jonathan David.
The
So it's
Iceman.
the Iceman. He has arrived. It looked like the rumors were hot and heavy, but until it's done, it's not done, right?
Right.
Sounds like for the longest time he had narrowed in on Juve,
Yeah.
and then it seemed like there was just an issue with getting
Agent fee.
the agent fees down.
Yeah.
It's, from all reports, it sounds like Jonathan David was able to talk to his agents and intervene and get
Basically
that.
say, don't mess this up.
Exactly. And as soon as he did that, apparently it just got the ball rolling
Yeah.
and everything became official. So he signed a 5-year deal. I believe it was 6 mil salary, 2 million bonus, and the agent fee was still quite high at like 12.5. But
12.5. But from the rumors were originally 20,
yeah,
which would have been a transfer fee in the player
yeah.
itself.
Which is what the agent was banking on, right? Like, you're
Yeah.
getting a player for free. I want to cut of that what would have been a transfer.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'd be happy for with 12 million,
yeah,
please.
yeah. So, in now that talks about, where we felt on Jonathan David, and how do
Well,
you feel about the signing?
I did have him lower on my list from
Yeah, yeah.
Osimhen and
Gyökeres.
Gyökeres. I was going to say Goretzka. I always get those two names mixed up. Um, I'm excited. I know we kind of did like a dream starting 11 with the two
Mhm.
off the phone, especially if he's kind of lined up with Koulibaly up front, and you have David there with the bigger body. I think he will fare well in Serie A. He has the playing style, and he could score, man, and he has some pretty good touches on the ball. He just needs the service as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm worried about. And
Oh.
we've seen Vlahovic and sometimes Koulibaly get a very isolated up there, and
Mhm.
they're just invincible, invisible, not invincible,
Invisible. Yeah.
invisible up front. So
Yeah. I think his player profile fits what Serie A is, but to your
mm,
point, it needs that quality. My concerns are, you know, eh, we've seen it with other American players. They've taken to them at times when they've succeeded, but this is the first Canadian, which is especially two guys here from Canada. It's a pretty big moment, and for us to see that. But I think there's going to be a quick turn on him if he doesn't show the performance early on. And I'm a
Yeah,
little worried about that, especially because we've talked about this team having this very Jekyll and Hyde. And if they're able to give him that quality, again, so if we want to step back a little further as well, the optimal lineup that we've been talking about included Koulibaly and Conceição. And there's
yeah,
a very good chance, like both players right now at this moment are not Juventus players.
no,
So there's a big chance that even when we're talking about that Jekyll and Hyde and where that starting 11 looks good, but the bench doesn't look great, two of those guys are not there. So now
changes.
you're adding David, but you're missing some of what Conceição gave you. You're missing some of, maybe that partnership Koulibaly and David could have together as a dual
Yeah,
striker up front.
right.
Um,
A lot of
it-
question marks,
yeah, a lot of big question marks.
right? Because we also still don't know what's happening with our other striker, but we'll get into that one after.
Yeah. So, and we will get into Koulibaly and Conceição a little more, talk about where those are at. Like we said, not Juventus players at this moment, but Jonathan David is in fact officially signed, as you can see here from his picture of him signing at the press conference there. Now, do you take any stock into them not revealing his number? Because I think that leads us into the next part, which is Dusan Vlahovic. What's
Right.
going to happen there? The writing's been on the wall. They've been trying to sell him. It sounds like those talks have just failed. He does not want to go to Saudi or any of these other places where it sounds like there's more concrete offers to pay what his salary is.
Mhm.
And he wants to stay maybe in a Serie A or maybe go to EPL, but his wages are too high and he doesn't want to come down from them. And teams aren't willing to pay it. Like in Milan. I think Milan would be interested with Allegri. Allegri had a good relationship with him. I just don't think they're in the market to spend the $12 million that he's making annually. So where we've had some of these talks, maybe they're going to sell them, maybe they're going to sell them, that's quickly turned. And we've turned from that to now talks of terminating him. And that Vlahovic actually wants a $10 million severance in order to leave the club. So I guess we were both big Vlahovic fans. We'll be upfront about that. I think we've mentioned that before. So
I would say big supporters.
Supporters.
We wanted him to do well.
Yeah.
As with any player.
Yeah, exactly. But now this is souring, I think, the taste in our mouths. And I don't want to speak for you, but I'll let you kind of give how you feel about it.
Yeah, he's turned into the villain pretty fast over the past couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I think he doesn't want to give up his salary, obviously, but you're not going to get that anywhere else because no team's willing to pay that, especially with the performances that he's been putting up over the past couple of years. There's a part of me that does feel bad for him, though, but also he's kind of done this to himself. He's just not. I guess he's not cracked up what he was supposed to be.
Definitely not.
It's just really unfortunate. And going back to what you said about David, if he doesn't perform fast, the fans might turn on him quickly. That's because we really haven't had a prolific striker since Cristiano Ronaldo, the Dybala days. But I think for me, the only option I see is him being bought out. And now I'm sure they'll come to an agreement for an amount. I don't think he'll get the 10 million because 10 million is pretty rich, if you ask me. And you could spend that somewhere in the market. But yeah, it's just an unfortunate ending. We were so high on this guy when he first came in, 70 million as well. It's just a Maudi 2.0 situation going on here.
Yeah. And it's, I think it speaks to the fact that they haven't released Jonathan David's number, that he's probably hoping to get that 9. I
think they want to give it to him too.
Yeah. And so they're hoping to have a resolution here. But again, it's going to get, I think, uglier before it gets better.
Yeah.
But right now, if we were betting on it, because you still have to figure out the Koulibaly. I think if you're able to confirm that one or get that additional striker, because the talk of another striker is still very much real and very much on the board. We had heard earlier in the week Osimhen being again, something Juve was still pushing for. It sounds like that one's officially gone. He's dead set on Galatasaray. It sounds like they're close to the finish line there, and making that an official permanent move.
Right.
But Koulibaly has still been, the talks have still been ongoing. I think until they get that firmed up, the real negotiation here of the buyout won't really heat up. I think they'll keep him there as well. We still need another striker, trying to figure out where it goes, but you don't want to kill your leverage in the negotiations. But right now, sitting here today, if I had to ask you, what are your percentages of Dusan Vlahovic being in the lineup, or not in the lineup, but in the squad come the start of the season?
I got to be pretty high on this one, man.
Yeah.
I'm about 70%. I just, the way Juve operates, they might just keep him and alienate him, train by yourself type thing.
It's funny you're saying that, because I thought you were going to go low and I thought I was going to be the one to go high, but I was at around 75, 80%, because I'm agreeing with you. I don't see how this gets cleared up soon. You see how slow the transfer market's gone already. You see how fast the season's coming along. I do think they will I would say I'm 50-50 on if they come to a resolution, but by the start of the season, I think leverage and everything starts heating up a little more as the season's going on as well. So I could see it hitting a boiling point there, or maybe Dusan or the team trying to use the season as like, hey, we're not scared by that, we'll make you sit, or hey, we're not scared, we will sit, and we don't care.
Yeah,
both sides could use the season, and that's why I think it could drag.
Right. And I could see Juve saying like, okay, like we could loan you out, and your salary's being paid 50% by the other team.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I gotta agree. It's just the way this team is spending right now. I feel like they kind of need every penny in the bank and they just don't want to dish out 10 million up front.
To me, a loan out doesn't even make sense, because the player's leaving for free next year. So it's like, why am I even going to pay half your salary to loan you out so that you can possibly perform well and then leave for free and get another big contract? No. If you don't want to play ball, then you'll have to take your ball and go home, kind of thing.
Maybe hopefully his agent's smart enough, and he goes to Dusan and says, "Hey, listen, this is the best we're gonna get. You're still young. Your career can still take off. Like, he's only 24." And he still has an opportunity to change the narrative here of him being a dud, because a lot of people were high up on him. Arsenal wanted him, right? And now he's kind of no one's in on him other than right now. I'd say is Milan or Saudi Arabia league.
Yeah.
So,
no, for sure. So that's where we are with Dusan Vlahovic. The name that was really hot all week, including Fabrizio Romano on it, was Jadon Sancho, though. So as somebody coming in, we saw the reports all week. Jadon Sancho wants to come here.
Here we go
He's
again.
willing. It feels exactly like last year. We were so close, and then it was like, oh, he's going to Chelsea. So are we going to see him in that jersey that we see here on the screen or not? It sounded like it was pretty much close to happening, and then Fabrizio on his podcast, I believe it was today,
no bid has been made.
No bid's been made. Yeah. It's been still very preliminary. So although he said the interest is very real, I think people ran with that and started coming up with reports that it was really close. He's saying, pump the brakes. It's not as close as we think it is. There's still a lot of legwork that needs to be done.
Yeah, it almost feels like Juve wants a guarantee about salary being paid by United, because his wages are pretty high, and I don't think they can handle another high wage right now, especially with Dusan on the book still.
Yeah.
I just don't want this being dragged out again because
Hmm.
I feel like we did that in the winter mercato,
Hmm.
and we lost out on a winger. We did end up with no one when we needed one
Yeah.
because not Douglas Luiz, Nico Gonzalez was still injured at the time,
Yeah.
right? And we were relying on Conceição. So for me, if it doesn't happen within the next week, move on,
Hmm.
go to someone else, give your money to Porto for Conceição, like
Hmm.
someone that you know who has done well for you. Mind you, a few lapses here and there, but I mean that's every player. No one's perfect. Um, but yeah, I just I don't want this waiting game to play out any longer.
Yeah. Now, I was going to get to it a little later, but I think I'll bring up the Conceição part of it. Is it is it curious to you that as the Sancho talks were heating up, there were the rumors of the negative negotiations with Conceição. Now that there's been some more positive talks, still bids have been rejected, but it sounds like talks a little more positive on the Conceição side, that the Sancho talks are cooling down.
Yeah,
We've talked about it offline. Do we feel like this is a true ploy? Is it one or the other? Is it Sancho or Conceição, or is there a real possibility it could be both? Or are they just trying to use this in the media as leverage to try to get one side to break down,
yeah.
specifically Conceição and Porto?
I feel like it is one or the other. I don't think we're gonna get both. But
Hmm.
also, I agree. A part of me has to say that they probably are using this as a ploy. Um,
Because
yeah,
aside from Sancho wanting to be a Juventus player, maybe thinking, man, I was so close last year. I could have envisioned that. I want to get out of England. I've not had the success I've wanted there. I've had success in Germany, but maybe Italy's the right kind of, maybe it's closer to German football than English. I can see that. But to
mm,
take that much of a wage cut, especially when, like how much of a wage cut are we talking, to your point? And
right.
then what is going on with Dusan Vlahovic? That needs to be a clear picture as well to do this. So to
Right.
me, this transfer in a lot of ways does not make sense. Um, Unless Chelsea just really wants to get off the books, they're willing to do something and it's like a loan again. They eat some of the salary, but is that what you want to do? And why are you bringing in an older player when you have somebody in Conceição who's younger, wants to be here, has shown signs of brilliance, um, and wants to grow with this team? Is there
Yeah.
a bit of maturity that needs to be had? Yes, but he's only 22 years old, and I think he's only going to get better.
Yeah. No,
Um,
I have to agree. A player who hasn't really been the same since leaving Borussia Dortmund and
mhm.
going to the Premiership. Um,
And I'm not against it. Like, I just want to say that too. It's not
mhm.
anything against Sancho but you do make the good point. It's been more at Dortmund's been where he's had the success.
Yeah,
But
and it has his fair share of attitude problems and disciplinary
yeah.
issues lately
And,
too, right?
and last year was a bit of that, to me, showed a bit of that too in choosing Chelsea when they were bloated with the amount of bodies in there. Where did you think you were going to get this
Yeah,
playing
and
time? So, yeah.
I don't know. It almost feels like as well. Like, was he hoping that he could stick it to United and prove
Yeah.
them that I can do well at Chelsea? Because last year at the winter market, he had the option to come here. It was
Yeah.
between Chelsea and Juve, and he chose Chelsea. So
Yeah.
it kind of shows like, are we second fiddle? Like, are we second option? Or maybe he's like, damn, maybe I made a mistake. I want to give Juventus a shot here, right?
Mhm.
Or I don't have any options. I'm on the outs with United. I'm going to be sitting bench all year.
Yeah. It'll be an interesting one to keep an eye on. We talked about it before, Conceição versus Sancho. Everyone knows where we sit on it. I think ultimately our minds are aligned with we would prefer to, I think, if it's one or the other, to have Conceição back. But
Yeah.
the depth in getting both would be nice. I just don't see how it's realistic, to your point.
Yeah. I mean, in a perfect world, we would get both of them and remove Nico Gonzalez.
Yeah. So that brings us to the other hot rumor that has just popped up the last couple days, which is Xhaka. Bayer Leverkusen. He's played well there under Xavi Alonso. He's had some up and downs with Arsenal. Decent player profile. He is 32, so he's on the older side. But, somebody that has given his everything for any team he's played for. He's got a good mentality. Older players, especially in the midfield, tend to do well when they come to Serie A. How tempted are you by this? And there's a $15 million price tag associated to it.
I kind of like it. We've said this multiple times. They don't have a leadership voice in the locker room.
Mm-hmm.
And he did captain Chelsea, not Chelsea, sorry. He has captained Arsenal for a few years there. I'm not too sure how long, but I remember he had a small stint there where he was captain.
Yeah.
I would love it. We need a voice, especially in midfield, and we don't have a voice. We have a very young team. We don't have many voices. We kind of lost that with Danilo, Chiellini, Bonucci all leaving.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. I like it, and he does bring some skill in the midfield that we don't have as well.
Yeah, I do as well. I wasn't sure to feel. I think when I first heard the name pop up,
I was kind of laughing about it when he was first connected to Milan. I'm like, what a Milan signing now. I was like, it'd be perfect for Juve. It's just such a double standard.
And maybe we are watching it with Juve colored glasses, but the more I thought about it, was just you've seen some of these more physical, slower but physical midfielders show success in Italy. You've seen it. You've seen the success of older midfielders coming into Serie A, especially ones that maybe haven't had success in the Premier League specifically too. We've seen it last year, younger age profile, but Scott McTominay, that was couldn't find a place in Man United, comes to Serie A, he's Player of the Year. So, and a major part of that Napoli championship team, and they bring in Kevin De Bruyne as well. So, in a similar profile type, I think De Bruyne is a different player, better profile, but Xhaka does have that profile that could be successful in Serie A. So, the more I thought about it after just thinking of the name, I think I got a little more positive vibes around it.
Yeah, I agree. Like, not that I'm comparing Xhaka with this player, but we haven't had a older midfielder since Pirlo at Juventus. And again, we need a voice, and I think Xhaka could bring that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we'll see where that goes. It does sound like the reports are talking about him giving the yes to this, him wanting this move, $15 million price tag associated to it. And I bring that up again because the other talks is on the way out, 15 million, coincidentally, Timothy Weah with Marseille. So Timothy Weah in Bangula, we talked about them rejecting Nottingham Forest, but it does sound like Weah is a lot more positive about Marseille, about going to France. This would be a player on the out. We had kind of talked about him as well. He never really found his way. He was moved up and down a lot under Allegri. Or even Malta, but it didn't seem to work out. Maybe you like the food in France better than Italy, but
it just seemed like he was kind of like a utility player, a fill-in, really. I mean, when he was first signed, it was like, okay, sure. Wasn't the sexiest signing, obviously, as compared to what we're used to in the past. It's time to move on, get the wages off the books, get some cash in, and especially if you're not being used, you're not in the plans, just move on with it.
For sure. So that sounds like it's pretty much done. We'll see how that fits. The 15 million, it sounds like it would basically be your sending away, bringing in Xhaka. So something else to think about when you're thinking about how you feel about the player profile. Other ones to talk about, we have Koulibaly. Again, they're pushing to bring him back. Player wants to be back. Now, since officially leaving Juve after the Club World Cup, he has removed Juve in his bio of his social media. Yeah, he's removed the picture of him with Juve. So don't know what that's. Maybe that's just, hey, I'm not a Juve member anymore until they bring me back. see what happens there. PSG is willing and wants to, I think, willing to sell a
Cash in.
player,
Yeah.
cash in on him, but they wanted a loan with obligation to buy. I think Juve is trying to get another loan with a potential buy. So there's still some negotiating that has to happen there. Again, nothing imminent, so I don't expect us to hear a signing of the player in the next week or
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
But negotiations to be had.
Yeah, I feel like maybe already it might be a handshake deal already. It's like, yeah, the two clubs have respect for one another.
Mhm.
The player wants you. Let's kind of
Yeah.
iron out some of the kinks here with what the dollar value and how long this loan is going to be and what the obligation
Yeah.
for buy is. So I feel like that one could get, my opinion, I feel like that one could get tied up. I think they're just waiting to see what happens with Vlahovic as well.
And I think, I mean, they're raking in money from the Club World Cup. The team, like we said, well-oiled machine. Why mess with that? You don't, like, if the player wants to come to Juve too, I think where there's a will, there's a way. So again, it's probably just pressure tactics. Maybe Koulibaly's not happy that it's taken this long and that he thought Juve would step up a little more. So maybe that's part
Yeah.
of the social media stuff. And obviously PSG is pretty tied up right now with what's going on. So
Yeah.
I think, once we get through this final and maybe some of the harder negotiation tactics come out, then we'll be able to see, some more light at the end of the tunnel on this, whether positive or negative. But player wants to, I think, be with Juve, and Juve wants him. Managers made that clear. So I think, to your point, because of that there will be a way, but
Right.
time will tell. That pretty much wraps it up. Two of the other names, I'll just mention them basically, and if you have any thoughts, you can let me know. Dodo from Fiorentina has been a name that has been linked to Juve, as well as Jonathan Klaus from Nice. So two defenders. They've been connected to other defenders as well in the past this summer, this offseason, but nothing has really gained any traction, nothing very real. So those are two names. I don't know if you have any thoughts on it or anybody else you think that Juve should be targeting. The only one I think they should be targeting is Leone from Parma to get a good young Italian locked up. Even if you do loan him back, that's fine. But just it's more, us talking about wanting to have that youth of Italian players again. So that's somebody I really want. Otherwise, the other names that have been floated around are kind of, okay.
Yeah, I mean, going back to Leone, I think you kind of want to lock that up or potentially try to get into a big squad, especially, with seeing all the Italian players leaving the league here.
Yeah. And that was going to be my last point on the transfer market, just because it was not fully related to Juve, but kind of related to
but
Juve.
we saw it. We weren't happy with it in general. So I feel like we could segue into that.
Yeah, I know we're talking about it in a roundabout way. Let me just come out and say it. Rutegi signs to Saudi Arabia, and I can't remember the team name. I'm blanking on it. I didn't even write it down for some reason. But $75 million, it looks like, is the transfer fee. It's agreed upon. Fabrizio wrote about it. It's a done deal. Rutegi, who was linked to Juve early in the offseason, is going to Saudi Arabia. So again, another player that I think if we had our ideal way with the national team being the national teams of the past, you wouldn't want a player like this in your starting 11. But given the player pool that we have at the national level right now, he's a very important piece up front.
Yeah.
And another player that's taking off to a league that is not one of the obviously top 5 leagues in the world.
Yeah.
And it's upsetting. And it goes with Leone. It goes with, some of the other moves that we've seen.
Yeah.
And it's just a shame that this is what's happening. We're not getting these national teams where the base of them are based in Italy. They have these, like where so many players are on the Juventus squad or so many players or whatever team it is, but that they're in Italy playing together. Not that you can't go anywhere else and not be a contributing member or anything, but I think if you look at the numbers and you look at the analytics behind it, it's shown that once players have made these moves to like an MLS or to a Saudi Arabia, quality's dropped off slightly, and it just hasn't shown results in them getting back to the national team or getting back to their highest level.
Yeah. It's.
And there's
They,
outliers to that, and I just want to preface that by saying it doesn't mean nobody should come to MLS. Or, I'm a big supporter of MLS and Toronto FC, and I want to see the game grow. But the reality
right.
is, like a guy like Insania went to Toronto and he just fell off the face of the earth, didn't care. And not saying that Rukitegi has the same mindset, but it just showed. He took the money, then he just didn't care about football as much. Now he talks about wanting to make the World Cup team. He doesn't even have a team. He was
Stay away.
terminated by a Toronto
Stay
FC,
away.
but 100%. But let's go back to Rutegi. You were I'm sidetracking us, but how you feel about this?
It's upsetting to kind of see the core of Italian players kind of just like you said, it's okay to stretch out to the different leagues around the world,
Mm-hmm.
but gone are the days where you have the core of Italian players like on a Juve, Milan, Inter, and the state of the national team right now is suffering from that. And also too, it's a part of not growing our game, our league.
Yeah.
And a lot of these younger players are leaving, right, to make that money, to be more commercialized. Not that the Saudi league is commercialized, but going to England and going to the French league, get the German league to get more of that commercialized attraction.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not happening in Italy, and we got multiple issues that we've discussed in the past on the podcast. So,
and not even just Italy, and I was able to open it up there just while you're speaking, and Quadise. I hope I'm probably butchering that, but that's the club that has purchased him.
Doing a better job than I would.
But on top of not just as a national team issue, but a Serie A issue as well, because this is also your top striker of the year.
Yeah,
this was the top goal scorer in Serie A last year with 25 goals. So you're not just losing an Italian player that's a big part of the national team. Serie A is losing their top striker.
Yeah, maybe he thought that this summer he was going to get a big move to a bigger team, and it just never happened. And he's like, "All right, I'm out.
This was
see ya."
And another Atalanta master.
It was so fast. It was so fast, and Atalanta is like, "Yep, thank you. We'll take the money."
Another masterclass of them being able to bring a guy in relatively cheaper, and then flip them and bring in a lot of revenue. So they still have some work to do with Gasparini not being there, as we've talked about before as well. But just a sad moment to see a decently young Italian striker and Serie A's top goal scorer take off to the Saudi league, and so another one bites the dust, as they say. But yeah, Lorenzo Insigne, I just had to bring him up because he thinks he's going to make the World Cup team, even though that's his goal, even though he doesn't have a team right now. Wouldn't that be interesting, though? Imagine Italy makes the World Cup, A. B, he actually does make the squad, and C, they get grouped in Toronto, and he's playing World Cup matches for Italy in BMO Field. That'd be kind of hilarious. Didn't even think about that.
But, I would rather have Bernardeschi over him.
Yes.
Right
and
now.
I think, Bernardeschi was part of that, which was a surprise. Because he didn't perform to the levels of his salary, but he actually cared. As somebody who is a TFC supporter, he did care. He showed up for every game. He didn't mail it in or milk it in like Insigne did, and couldn't play because of this, couldn't play because of that, barely played. And when he did, he tried. Now, he didn't keep up to the standard. I don't know if he respected the MLS as much. And there were stories of outside of the pitch, him vaping on planes in front of teammates when he's not supposed to, and blah, blah, blah. There was a whole articles on that.
Yeah, I heard
so, a little bit offside, but he seemed to embrace the city. He embraced the other clubs, and he always played. So all the time in the world for Bernardeschi and for what he's done for Juve. Lorenzo Insigne never liked him before, like him even less now. So that's where I feel. If it wasn't for his goal against Belgium,
Hopefully
some of those
Napoli signs them.
yeah, take him back. Good,
Exactly.
let him. But so that's it for our transfer talk. Obviously, there'll be more stuff to come every week. There's always the rumors, especially with Italy. They just love throwing out rumors.
Yeah.
Sorry, I did miss one with the link to Sancho as well in the Borussia Dortmund kind of talks. There was Adiemi. That talk had kind of popped up again. You were quick to mention that, and you made a great comment offline, which I'll let you say. But it is a little scary of our future.
They found Guintoli's little notebook. He
It
left it in the drawer.
It does feel like that way. A lot of these names, Sancho,
Popping up again.
Adiemi, popping up again. So there's a little worry about that. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what happens when you don't have a sporting director, right? You just have a guy coming in and just kind of picking the pieces up, which is still worrying. You think that would be such a priority. And it's not talked enough about. Not talked enough about.
And you know what? And this sidetracks us into another. It wasn't a topic I had on our rundown, but I'll kind of go into it quickly here. So not only do you not have the sporting director figured out, but your top two that you've named so far, Comoli and Chiellini, you also have Chiellini, who just actually announced that he's part ownership of LAFC.
Yeah.
So that's a big commitment as well, having that ownership. Now, he said he's committed to Juve as well and his role with Juve. And according to the reports, he worked everything out with legal and Juventus to be like, am I okay to do this? They gave the green light and the blessing on it. But there's another person who is now probably in America making his rounds, maybe making some personal appearances there to talk about the big news of him being part of ownership. So you really got only one person back at home base doing the work, and it's Comoli. And so I'm wondering if he's just comfortable that way, and that's why he's like, he feels he's in no rush because he feels he has a handle on it. Or is there just not much of an interest in people, top tier guys wanting to come here in the sporting director role? It's very odd to me.
Yeah. This team's been an anomaly for a few years now. So just the choices they've been making just haven't made any sense.
Yeah, but we're just over a month away from the results. You can't hide from the results on the field, and so the true results on the field are going to be in August when the season starts.
Could go very bad or decently good,
and that will ultimately be the tale of what Comoli has done this offseason.
Right.
But we are rounding down on a couple last items here, a couple more fun ones, and a couple anniversaries here. So today, us recording on July 9th, two massive anniversaries as well. First one, 19 years since Italy won the World Cup in 2006. 19 years ago today. I was actually pretty fortunate enough today through buddies at T-Dot Italians and Angelo there. He set up a nice event where he had Gianluca Zambrotta, 19 years ago down there. So I was able to get the World Cup jersey signed by him, which was pretty cool on this day. But man, I also can't believe it's been 19 years since that happened.
I still remember it.
Just those moments like etched in your mind. Like I'll never forget like what happened, where it happened, man. Some of the smells, like it sounds weird, but it's like I remember the smell. I can remember, just
cigarettes and cognac, John, in Nono's basement.
That's it. It was actually my last year of high school, and our buddies, we watched all the group stages matches together, but then after the group stage, basically it was like exams and everything was done. So we took the bus down for every game to go watch it at a bar down on St. Clair. And AC Soccer Ranch, I'll never forget it. And that was our hub, and we went there for every game. And then the finals, it was packed. The guy had to like lock the door because people kept trying to get in. We were just jammed up, person of person, sweating. But what an amazing feeling, and what just something I will never ever forget. Even seeing Zambrotta today, it was just like going back to my child. It was that game against Ukraine, and like those moments were just like back. Just it comes back in a flash. And
the game against Germany.
oh, that was the best match of that World Cup. And
yeah,
anytime
wonderful.
I need some of that little serotonin, I'll just put the clips on of that World Cup, and
makes you smile. Makes you smile.
100%, 100%.
And then you think about it. Where did it all go wrong?
Well, that's a bigger discussion, one we've kind of got into, but that's definitely a bigger discussion, and hopefully we'll see some changes in Serie A. I'm not hopeful for it, but I'm hoping, but I'm not holding my breath, if that makes sense. The other anniversary, Gianluca Vialli, it would have been his, I believe, 62nd birthday or 61st. It would have been, but July 9th was his birthday. So a big icon of Italian soccer, of Juventus soccer, football. It was his birthday today, and fitting that we'll also go into, just wrap it up, we'll go into some Juve apparel talk, and specifically they launched today with it the Gianluca Vialli collection with Juve. And man, we sent each other the messages. They had a kind of cryptic video yesterday. Rumors were circulating that it was going to be a line. The shirt there from
I thought it was going to be like an icon jersey. I got really excited, but no, this is still beautiful. It's a nice touch.
It is. And they kind of leaked the one that Bremner's wearing. That was kind of leaked. So that was the proposed, okay, this is what's going to happen. But
yeah,
man, just seeing that logo again, everything.
Oh, it's beautiful.
You sent it to me first this morning, and I was like, I've already bought the shirt, the jersey, and the sweater there, the jacket. But
that's amazing.
It's got a beautiful look to it, and they also got the shorts and the track pants as well. So clean look, touch. Beautiful touch, and definitely something.
Adidas, make more of this, man. Make more of this.
Man,
make it a jersey. People are gonna buy it.
Incredible or just terrible. They have no middle ground. They have
very
no
strange, very, very strange. No, this is beautiful.
Yeah,
I love this.
Beautiful, and I'm definitely I've already pre-ordered, so I'm in for it. But and that'll take us to the final note of the day, which is the other apparel talk, which was they released their third jersey. So you're questionable on it, but I really like this.
Really?
I really like it. I know you're not a fan of the flowers, right? That's
remove the flowers.
Yeah, you don't.
Just make it like a nice, a nice texture. Doesn't need to be a paisley thing.
Like I even thought I wouldn't like the green.
I like the green,
but I kind of like it. I like it.
Yeah, I like the logo. I like the classic Adidas is what they say.
And I'm wondering if, when you actually see it, how defined those flowers are. Like, is it so much more defined because of all the lighting they have against it, or does it look like more of a black and it's more toned down? But even with it, I'm okay with it, and I rate it highly.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
1 to 10. What are you giving it?
6.
6. See, I'm like an 8, man. 8.5. Like I'm high. I'm higher on it. I'm high on it. Yeah.
Like I'd even give like the home jersey maybe a 6.5, 7. I would rate the home jersey, and I don't like the home jersey.
Wow, you'd have it higher than this. Yeah. See, this to me is the one I like the most this year.
I wanna wait to see what it looks like when they play, because we botched the blue one, but the blue one they wore the first game of the tournament, and from afar it looked nice. I liked it. I liked it.
Yeah.
Up close, even their home kit right now.
I'm convinced you watch them wearing stuff enough, just because we love the team, we end up just liking it.
Yeah.
Like even me,
I like the pink accent on the home jersey.
Like even me, I'm high on that like pajama top. The pajama training. I know you will never get on board with that, but
no, I'm starting to like it. I'm starting to like it.
Although I will only get it if it comes in a long sleeve, which I've seen the players wear, but nowhere
online. And then you wear it to bed?
And hey, with the hat too. And then I will definitely have no need to wear a ring, because my wife will leave me officially. That's where she'll draw the line. She'll be like, "Your Juventus everything. At least I don't have to see it in bed." Like, okay, this is enough.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's okay. I'm very much probably in the same boat, because all I hear is, "You don't love me." Okay.
Love you. We love you. It's just
Yeah.
the
We
old,
love
there's an old
Juventus.
lady we love as well.
Yeah. La
So
vecchia signora.
that's it. That's it. But that wraps it up pretty nicely. We got a 1 hour long pod here. So I think that's a good spot to kind of break it off at. Obviously, more news to come. We'll still have more stuff. We'll have a City App preview show closer to the start of the season. We've got more. We'll break down more news as it comes together. There's already episode 5, which is pretty cool. Aside with our bonus episodes as well, we're up to like 7. So it's
Yeah.
been really fun doing this, and we'll continue to do it. So please do leave us any feedback you do have. At the end of this video, you'll see all the socials. Follow us, like us, comment.
Yes. And we're going to be
Engage.
pushing out more content. It's just life is really, really busy.
Yeah.
Summer needs to pass, and then kids
Yeah.
need to go back to school. Weddings
That's
need
it.
to go.
And we're
Not
just
go away.
starting at this. And we're just starting at this. So, there's also a learning curve with it that's come along too. But we got excited with that one post that just blew up to like 70,000 views, and it's still going. So,
Yeah.
some people seem to be liking what we're putting out as well. So,
Some people
maybe
think
we're
we're average Americans.
average Americans. Never let that down. But anyway, Dom, as always, it's a pleasure talking Juve with you, buddy, and a pleasure having all of you listen to us. So that will do it for us tonight, episode 5 of the Bianconeri Bros, and we are out.
Ciao. There's the mug.